Okay, we're on number. I guess this is number. Oh boy, this is a long
This
one.
is a long one. This is our friend Mike from Virginia, and I hope that you are not tired of commenting on Audrey Totter, which I don't think we are.
No, why would I?
I am
Why would
as
I be?
exactly. I am as a fan as well. I've seen her in a number of movies. In the vast majority of these, she played a romantic or sympathetic character. She was usually more loyal than she should have been. Here are my questions.
Okay.
So we're going to just do one question at a time. My impression of the unsuspected and the postman always rings twice is that she was probably not lovable, but more neutral and had only a relatively minor role. So this level of badness did not match Totter's reputation. What was your take?
That's interesting. I get. I'm trying to figure out where Mike is coming from here. Like that, Audrey was like the bad girl, but she did. Uh, half the time she played, the good characters.
Yeah,
Certainly in High Wall, she's the savior. She's Robert Taylor's savior in High Wall, and she's certainly, in the setup, she's certainly a good person. In the unsuspected, she's just kind of a vixen, and
I would have used the word bitch,
well,
but
yeah, but she's so good at that. And
she's
anyway, and
fantastic. She
and in
looks
the
so great
and
in that dress.
oh my God, she's
That
fantastic.
dress.
And the postman always rings twice. She's just flirty,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she only has one scene,
Yeah.
and she's just flirty. Obviously that's not a femme fatale role or anything, but it certainly got her attention. That was a big role for her, right? Because that was
Yeah.
1946, and I don't know that she had been in pictures with two big stars like that, and to play that scene with Garfield, even though it was so incredibly brief, there was more to that role that they cut out.
Yeah.
Audrey has told me tales about shooting this stuff because I forget how this came up. It was something I was talking about recently about the various versions of the Postman and how they took the circus out of
Yeah.
the 46 version, but it was originally in there because Audrey told me about shooting a scene with John Garfield at the circus where the big cat in the scene actually peed on Garfield during one of the takes. And she said it was like the most howlingly funny thing that ever happened to her on a set. But needless to say, that didn't make it in the film. Okay, so
And then,
number two
yeah.
question. Uh, the only awful person she's played in the movies that I have seen is the wife in Tension. But even then, she was vastly deeper and more interesting and far less the pure, mindless evil and hatefulness of Anne Savage's character in Detour. So Mike is asking if Audrey's reputation is entirely from Tension. Okay. Uh, okay. Not entirely, because Audrey did play the temptation. If
Mm-hmm.
not an evil character, she often played the temptress in these movies. And but the thing about this question that is interesting to me is that I actually find the Audrey's character in Tension, Claire Quimby,
Yeah.
far nastier and more hateful than Anne's character in Detour.
Yeah.
Because there is no, I mean, Anne plays it savagely and
Mm-hmm.
ferociously, and you just, because of the setup of that movie, that they're trapped together,
Yeah.
that this man and woman are like in the car, then they're in the hotel, and they're just fighting like cats and dogs the
Plus,
whole time.
I think also Anne Savage's character, you can tell that she's had a hard fucking life.
Oh,
Pardon
absolutely.
my French.
Well,
You know what I
and
mean?
she,
Like that
yeah,
has been a hard life, and this is her chance to crawl out of it.
And she's
So
dying, and
yeah,
the
she's
character
dying.
is
Yeah,
dying. She's dying in the movie. I mean, she's got
yeah,
the cough.
yeah,
She's got consumption, and there's that line where he goes, "Oh, you mean like Camille?" And she goes, "Who's Camille? Who's that dame or something?" That was a funny line they threw in. But I actually have some sympathy for Vera in Detour, whereas I have no sympathy for Claire Quimby in
yeah,
Tension. She's just rotten to the core.
yeah.
And then lastly, Mike asked about the end of the setup, where she says, we both won tonight.
Yeah.
Um, and Mike wants to know if we thought that was appropriate for one of the great noir movies, or did it seem a little over the top in its optimism? What's your take on this? I saw you clutch your heart.
Yeah, no, I think because that film is really about their relationship. I mean, that's what's sort of amazing is that because it is like the greatest boxing film of all time, and it really, you know, depicts that level of boxing and what that's like. It's a lot like Fat City in that way, which is another great boxing movie. But to me, the core, what I like about that film is we spend so much time with her too. When she's walking through the little town
right, right,
by herself. So, and her wanting him to stop boxing because, it's not great for your brain.
yeah,
It's a very harsh thing. And so for me, just having that at the end where she's sort of holding him like the pieta, is just, yeah. So for me, it really worked because like I said, I felt that film is so much about the relationship. It's not just about him as a boxer.
yeah. I have no problem with that ending of the film. I know where Mike is coming from with this, because I do think the dialogue is a little bit, yeah, it's a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
We both won tonight, and and he's lying there with his hands broken and everything. It's a little much. Uh, but I agree completely with your assessment of the whole thing, and um, how lucky the guy is that there's a woman waiting for him. Because think of that movie without that,
Yeah.
and that's the as depressing as it could possibly be, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, that, and Audrey was cool in that. She also told me great stories about making that film, and how she liked Robert Ryan a lot, and she really wanted to do the movie. And once again, Howard Hughes and all of his weirdness was like, not seeing it, because he wanted some babe to play the part. Not that Audrey wasn't a babe, but
But that wouldn't have worked for that role. I mean,
of
it's
course
it's
not.
it's a
Of course
marriage
not.
role. It's not
But it's funny
like
because
the dump trust. I mean,
initially
uh,
Robert Wise wanted to cast Joan Blondell in that part. That's who he saw
yeah,
as I can't remember her name right now, the character's name, but Howard Hughes rejected that, because women lost all interest for him when they passed a certain age, and Joan Blondell was
18.
past that age. Well,
Oh, that
realistically,
was his personal life. Sorry.
realistically, it's more like 28 or 29. Then the sell by date had been reached, and so Audrey was the only one that Wise and Hughes agreed upon, that he accepted that,
Yeah.
and Audrey just said, I got the part because Howard Hughes thought my breasts were big enough. That's exactly what she
What every
said.
actress wants to hear.
Yeah, yeah, and that was that. So
Yeah,
same as it ever was in Hollywood, right?
yeah.
So anyway, so Mike, we're all big Audrey Totter fans, and there are other smaller roles in there where she played kind of not so great characters, but you're right. I mean, she certainly played more good women than Marie Windsor played
Yeah.
good women. I can't recall when Marie actually played, a good character in a movie. Anyway, All right.
Well, I can think of one, but I don't want to spoil it.
Okay. What's the one?
Well, Narrow Margin.
Oh, well, the narrow margin.
Yeah.
Well, it's a trick that she's
Yeah.
good because she's kind of
Yes.
nasty through the whole movie, and then it
Yeah.
turns out, oh wait, we were wrong. She's actually the good guy.